Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, 5 Best Practices for Mitigating Configuration Risk for DevOps. My name is Piyushri, and I'm in the marketing team here at Progress Chef. With that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers, Shua and Lokesh, who would delve deep into the topic, Best Practices for Mitigating Configuration Risk and how Progress Chef can help. I will now hand over the presentation to the speakers for today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on 5 best practices for mitigating configuration risk for DevOps. My name is Shua Mateen, and I'm a senior product marketing manager at Progress, primarily focusing on product marketing initiatives for Chef compliance product. We also have with us Lokesh, who is a senior product manager at Progress. Lokesh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Lokesh and I'm currently working as a senior product manager at Chef Software, and I'm handling the Chef compliance product portfolio. So if you have any request on audit and remediation content ask, please feel free to drop a note to me. My email is lokesh_k@progress.com.
So over the course of this presentation, we will touch upon the relevance, the criticality of managing configurations and the impact of misconfiguration, how DevOps comes to play, and some key best practices to prevent misconfigurations in your IT estate. We will also touch upon how Progress Chef helps to solve some of these misconfiguration risks. Lokesh will then do a short demo of our solution, and we will also go through a couple of customer success stories. Finally, we'll conclude with Q&A. So here are just a few examples to kind of set context and paint a picture on the current state of data breaches and some of the stats in the industry. So day in and day out in the news, we hear about data breaches. This, of course, leaves a huge impact on the organization. Not in terms of penalties faced and brand reputation, but also in terms of loss of potential revenue. And a few other interesting facts are that according to research report by Ponemon Institute and IBM, 83% of the organizations have had more than one data breach in the last 1 year, and just 17% said this was their first data breach. And this number has significantly increased from the last couple of years. And the same report also mentioned that the average total cost of data breach is $4.3 million, and this would include fines, damage control, loss of potential business, etc. And last year saw a 13% increase in ransomware breaches across the world, which is higher than the previous 5 years combined, according to Verizon's data breach investigation report. So all these data points only tells us that data breaches across industries are rising. So organizations are always under pressure to have all the security systems in place, all the controls in place, and stay compliant with all the latest regulatory requirements. And what is really worth noting is that there could be many reasons for data breaches, misconfigurations is known to be the top reason, and based on research by Microsoft, 80% of ransomware attacks can be traced back to common configuration errors. So having said that, let's look at some of the common configuration errors or configuration misconfigurations in organizations today, right? Unpatched systems. Attackers can exploit a bug that has not been patched to execute a malicious program or malicious code. And this is a very common loophole for cyber criminals to scan environments for any unpatched systems, right? Default account settings, you might set up a few trust configurations to streamline access across systems. However, this opens up your application to attacks and breaches across your network that compromises very important data. Poorly encrypted or unencrypted files gives hackers enough opportunity to illegally access your system and steal data. Unsecured devices, using compromised devices or credentials or reusing the same passwords for different systems could make your environment not very secure. And even if attackers could gain unauthorized access to even one of your systems, the entire network could be compromised. Web applications, cloud misconfigurations. So cyber attackers could detect misconfiguration vulnerabilities in your system and exploit the same, causing enough harm. insufficient firewall protection. So if you leave services running on a firewall, it could expose the window for attackers to exploit vulnerabilities and disrupt your system. So not only Microsoft, even the Open Web App application security project, right? Their list of top 10 web application vulnerabilities updated 2021 declared security misconfiguration as the 5th most critical risk. And as per the research, over 90% of applications reported misconfigurations with an average incident rate of 4%. And one of the reasons it's actually gaining popularity among cyber attackers is that it just doesn't affect web assets, but every component that requires configuration. And according to OWASP, applications are vulnerable to security misconfigurations even if they lack sufficient hardening or have improperly configured cloud service permissions. Additional concerns include redundant features, default settings, passwords, visible error handling information, or misconfigured database or disabled security features. And it's important to kind of ensure that application frameworks and servers have secure settings and that all software components are up to date. The server should send security directives or headers to clients, and OWASP offers recommendation to avoid security misconfiguration issues. And these recommendations are also in line with whatever I've covered in the deck today. So having spoken about the risk of misconfigurations, right? Why are configuration errors so common? And the answer comes down to scale at some level and the diversity of the resource types that exists in organizations today, right? There are a number of moving parts that must come together to support an application. From backend infrastructure, including business processing and database and storage technologies, to front-end applications running on different devices, including point of sale, order entry, to everything in between, including web servers, application servers, or cloud-native assets relating to Docker and Kubernetes. And again, networking devices are also exist in organizations. So it's only because of the scale and the different complex systems, the different heterogeneous systems that exists exists in across organizations today is why configuration errors are so common. So preventing a security misconfiguration might seem very strenuous since it comprises various vulnerabilities. Attackers could use any of the type of misconfigurations to attack your infrastructure, including your confidential data, right? However, a few simple best practices could secure your system from such attacks. Let's take a look at the preventive measures you can employ to manage security misconfiguration. Establishing and managing a system hardening process, conducting audits frequently, shifting security. What you can see are some of the best practices that you can follow. And in the subsequent slides, we shall look into each of them in a little bit more detail. So system hardening is a method of preventing your breaches or attacks by reducing vulnerabilities in servers, applications, firmware, etc. Right, and you can achieve it with the help of different tools that help audit all systems, detect potential attack vectors, and minimize the attack surface. And given the impact of these attacks on organizations, system hardening has become a very strategic defense against such attacks by closing any loopholes that attackers frequently use to exploit system and gain access. And some critical activities associated with system hardening include deleting or disabling systems that are no longer in use, limiting permissions, removing any superfluous applications, ports, features, or user accounts, and continuously monitoring vulnerabilities. And most organizations, right, they use existing frameworks and best practices as regulatory requirements or preferred best practices. The National Institute of Standards and Technology and the Center for Internet Security and DSA sticks offer some of the most popular benchmarks, and Chef Compliance supports these and many more. Conducting frequent audits, again, employing periodic inspection to detect and mitigate any security misconfigurations and security risks. With Chef compliance, your organizations will always be audit ready and reduce the risk of compliance failures. So security breaches, brand damage, and litigation. So from an overall assessment perspective, we provide a single pane of glass visibility into the status of your entire fleet with support for, we call it push button audits because that's the time it takes, right? We have customers that state the event of an audit is a simple step of like printing the output. Shift left security, high performing DevOps teams scale both speed and quality by shifting compliance into the software development process as part of their daily work rather than force fitting security at the end, right? Shift left testing integrates information security very early in the whole software development cycle, means that developers are more likely to find errors before reaching production. And by discovering compliance violations early in the development phase instead of after feature development, the amount of rework required by developer drops substantially. So security becomes a very integral part of the whole continuous delivery. Compliance automation. So when you automate using technology, you automate the compliance process that was previously done manually. You go a long way in mitigating configuration risks. And this is the workflow that Chef follows to manage compliance. There are 5 stages in the compliance workflow. So in Acquire, using out-of-the-box curated content for CIS sticks that is created and maintained by Chef. In the define stage, you start with standard content, customize the policies and apply appropriate waivers or skip controls wherever required. In the monitor stage, this is where the value of Chef comes in by automating config, test, and fixing based on the policies. And during the monitoring process, if any misconfigurations are identified, Chef automatically remediates it to address drift. Finally, we have a complete single pane of glass reporting that can also be fed into third-party systems like Splunk, ServiceNow, and more. So when you automate the whole compliance process, you have to define baselines based on CIS benchmarks and run it. And let's say the audit results are 100% passed, right? At the first pass itself, the system is 100% compliant. In an ideal scenario, this would not be the case. Certain controls would fail and users have to remediate the controls that failed. And some controls can be fixed right away. Some would need time for fixing. Users can also put an exception, and the exception needs to have the right justifications and approvals. So it's important that as you find these issues, you work on it immediately and you continuously remediate these issues as they occur to reduce the risk and potential costs of a cyber attack. You can also get to desired state quickly in an automated way. We also wanted to take you through some foundational capabilities that lead to a DevSecOps approach that is optimized to meet your configuration and compliance requirements. So starting with our architecture approach that is designed to support zero trust foundations, including visibility, including analytics, automation, orchestration, and finally governance. Our architecture kind of reduces the whole threat surface area, performs human-free operations, and provides unparalleled visibility into your entire application infrastructure and into your entire environment, basically. And this forms the foundation for our automation at scale approach, proven the world's largest DevOps initiatives. We have extended our as code approach so that we support both infrastructure as code and policy as code using a common framework. We provide out-of-the-box and continuously maintained starter content for CIS sticks, and we make it easy to customize these standards to meet your requirements. And this leads to a continuous compliance approach since Chef's capable of checking, validating, auditing your entire fleet on your desired frequency. With the capability of automatically remediating any configuration errors, including those caused by drift. From an overall assessment perspective, we provide single pane of glass visibility into the status of your entire fleet and with support for push button audits. We have customers that state the event of an audit is a simple step of printing the output, which enables on-demand risk assessment. And with that, I will pass it on to Lokesh, who will take us through the latest release content and also take you through the compliance demo. Over to you, Lokesh.
Thanks, Shua, for highlighting the 5 best practices. Now let's see the recently released and the upcoming premium content. Like Chef Premium content is like one of the key factors and inputs for our compliance users to mitigate misconfigurations in their target nodes. And like our premium content helps to do the frequent audits with our premium audit profiles, and it also helps to do continuous remediation with our premium remediation cookbooks, and also it helps in compliance automation via the compliance as a code, policy as a code approach. All right. In the last quarter, we have released the audit content for MySQL, RHEL9, RHEL8, AX, and OpenShift container platforms. And then remediation content for RHEL9, RHEL8, and Alma Linux. It's all with respect to CIS benchmarks. And in the upcoming quarter, we are planning to release on Rocky Linux 9, Ubuntu 2022, SUSE Linux, EKS, and Stig Windows 11 content. So these are the content in the upcoming quarters, and in future, or in case of any request related to audit or remediation content, please feel free to drop a note to me at lokesh_k@progress.com. This is my email ID. We'll try to accommodate your content request in the roadmap and to serve you the best we can. Yeah. So this is the this is about the recently released and upcoming content, premium content. All right. Now let's see a quick demo on the compliance aspects. So here I have planned a plan to show a pre-recorded demo of running an audit and remediation content on Ubuntu 20 platform. All right. So I have set up a node in AWS with respect to Ubuntu 20 OS. And then if you see, like it has been set up AWS Ubuntu. And if you see, and I'm planning to fetch that Ubuntu 20 profiles in compliance tab. I'm going to compliance and profiles. It is going to, so we are planning to fetch the Ubuntu 20 profile from the like 639 available content, just searching with Ubuntu, and yeah, so Ubuntu 20, I'm going to get it. So once you fetch the profile, then our next job is to create a scan job to do an audit. So go to scan job and add a target node. So the target node is the one which I've added in Ubuntu in AWS. I'm just getting those details and adding it in the automate. And then I'm just setting the name as AWS Ubuntu. I'm just checking whether the node is in reachable status or not. Yeah, it's in reachable status. Now you are ready to run an audit on that node. So in automate, we have to add that node, and then I'm just adding the profile which we have downloaded from the available profiles for Ubuntu. And I'm just naming the scan job before remediation scan. It is in running state. Yeah, so now it is completed, meaning like we have audited the AWS Ubuntu node, and we are just going to see the reports. And reports, if you see, like there are 200 failed controls and 86 failed controls and 100 controls are passed. So etc. And let's deep dive on one control with respect to R6 service. And if you look at the source code, it should not be installed. The rsync package should not be installed. So we have written based on the package resource, inspect resource, and it should not be installed. And I'm just going to check by doing the SSH with that AWS node and check whether the rsync package is not there or not. If you do rsync -- version, it says rsync version is there. So according to CS benchmarks, it should not be there. That's the reason it is getting failed. And now you have to so now the next step is like you understood on the list of controls which is getting failed. So the next step is to run a remediation content on the Ubuntu 20 platform. So in order to do a remediation on the Ubuntu 20 platform, you need to have a remediation cookbooks. So in the last quarter, we have launched the seamless content delivery mechanism. So with this mechanism, you will be getting the set of audit content and remediation content via email. So once you receive the once you have the set of cookbooks in email, you have to download the cookbooks, like whichever cookbooks you need to run. Like in this case, you have to pick Ubuntu 20 remediation cookbooks and you have to download, and then you have to upload into the server, and you have to trigger the remediation. So that's the process here. So I'm going to download the Ubuntu 20 remediation cookbook here. So these are the list of remediation cookbooks available from our Chef Compliance Premium content. Just searching, yeah. There it is. And I'm just going to click on download. Yeah, it's downloaded, and I'm just checking whether it has recipes and metadata required in that remediation cookbooks. I'm just logging into remediation. Yes, it is there, remediation CS Ubuntu, and then I have to get into remediation folder, CS Ubuntu 20 folder. Yeah, you have like metadata and recipes inside that folder. And then you have to use the command knife cookbook upload command to upload the remediation content into the chef server from your desktop. Yes, the cookbook has been uploaded to the server successfully. Yeah, you can see like the cookbook has been created successfully in the Automate platform also. You can verify it has been uploaded. And then I'm going to check what is the AWS Ubuntu node by running knife node list. And then I'm going to add to run list the remediation cookbook to this node by using knife node run list add node name, recipe, and remediation cookbook name. This is the command. Yes, it has been added successfully. The recipe has been added successfully. The next step is I have to log into the AWS Ubuntu, and then I have to run sudo chef client to trigger the remediation cookbook on the target node. So I'm doing SSH, the target node. I'm going to run sudo chef client. Yeah. Yeah, now the remediation is getting started. And it's, yeah, if you see, remediation has been done successfully. It has taken 2 minutes and 43 seconds. Now, once the remediation is done, the next step is to go to the compliance tab, and we have to verify the fail controls like getting passed. Meaning in this case, a particular case, we have looked into it like RC control is getting passed or not. So again, so once the remediation is done, we have to do another scan job or another audit to check or to verify the fail controls, like it's getting passed or not. So I'm going to compliance tab and I'm going to create another scan job. Like after remediation scan, I'm integrating the node and adding the Ubuntu profile, and I'm going to put a name like after remediation scan. And it's right now running it. Yeah, it's completed. The scan is completed. Now let's click on the report to see the pass controls and fail controls. And if you see like, yeah, now you see like the earlier the pass controls were like 100 controls were passed in the previous run. And in the after remediation scan, if you see like it is 135 controls are getting passed. And let's look at the rsync one. So the rsync one is like the packages should not be installed. Now let's verify in the target node. And just doing an SSH and see whether rsync package is removed or not. Rsync -- version. See, it has been removed now. Yeah, this control has been remediated right now. All right. On a final note to conclude the demo, you need to have like an appropriate system hardening policies and the systems to frequently audit your infra with our premium audit content, and also to enforce appropriate remediation controls by using your remediation cookbooks. This will ensure like a continuous remediation processes in place. So by having like system hardening, having frequent audits, and having continuous remediations in place, you can ensure like the mitigation risk would be like getting drastically reduced, and you can have like a safe set of compliance journey in your set of infrastructure. All right. Now we have seen the demo to do an audit and to do remediation on your target node. Now let's see a couple of customer testimonials. So the first one is with Shubhak Phyllis. So the Shubhak Phyllis is a company it's like an IT services and software company based out of Netherlands. They used to provide software services for financial institutions, retail, energy, and healthcare related clients. So they approach Chef with the problem of maintaining complaints manually, and this process was impacting their release cadence and release cycle on a heavily. Meaning they have like a prolonged release cycle. So the primary use case here is related to premium content, and they were requesting content in terms of CIS Windows 2019, CIS CentOS 7, CIS Ubuntu 20, and Almalex related content. And we have shared all this content to Shubhag last year. And with the help of chef complaints and premium content, Shubhag Fleece can easily use our content, and they can also customize the profile tuning to other standards as well. And if you note, with this automated continuous complaints approach, and with our chef complaints as a product base, they can quickly validate their complaints requirements, and they can also mitigate this misconfiguration in the system significantly. And also with their shift left approach, meaning taking security first approach, they quickly identify and fix security issues quickly. So which in turn increase their speed and efficiency in their release cycle. All right, this is about the customer story of Shubhak Phyllis. Now let's
see at one of the customer testimonial with Tesco. Like Tesco reached out to Chef. So Tesco had like 10K plus node and workloads in their infra. So they had a challenge of updating, maintaining, and their systems. And they also had a challenge in adhering to different or wide variety of compliance standards across their infrastructure. So with the help of our Chef compliance and Chef infra product lines, they managed to tackle all the challenges of updating their systems and having like appropriate compliance on their nodes immediately. And especially with the help of the audit and remediation premium content like Windows 2016, Windows 2019, RHEL 7, RHEL 8, and CentOS related profiles, they have significantly reduced their risk of misconfigurations in their system, as well as they had ensured tight compliance in their infra. So yeah, so this is about the customer testimonial.
Okay. Thank you, Lokesh, for taking us through the compliance demo and covering some key compliance use cases. Now that you've understood the top reason for data breaches and the impact that misconfigurations can have on your organization and some key best practices to mitigate configuration risks, we would like to summarize some of the key takeaways for you. So Chef compliance actually helps you in mitigating configuration risks and managing IT compliance across your IT estate. So you can actually have very quick audits by maintaining up-to-date visibility into the compliance results, and you can easily report and share audit results very quickly, like I showed you earlier. With continuous compliance and continuous remediation, you can identify and eliminate any compliance risk. It's super easy to use, no coding expertise is required, and dashboards help pinpoint important issues. You can get faster time to value by tuning compliance profiles to address your organization's specific requirements. No additional coding required to understand compliance posture and to mitigate non-compliance controls very quickly. You can also get increased flexibility. You can write very specific custom code based on your specific requirements and check only the environment that's needed. So all these are really the benefits that come with Chef compliance and how it enables you to mitigate the configuration risk that we just spoke about, right? And so what next? So we would really encourage you to take a look at a data sheet, and the links for the same are provided here. And we would also be very happy to give a very detailed, personalized demo of a solution and how it can help you solve your IT compliance and security challenges. And we also wanted to announce that our annual flagship conference, ChefConf, is back in person this year with lots of exciting sessions, very good speakers, customer story sessions, etc., etc. And we are open for registrations September 26th to 27th. We are having it in Seattle in person, and October 12th to 13th in Munich, Germany. And we request you to save the date. And if you register now, you can actually get the super early bird offer. We really look forward to seeing you in Seattle and Germany. And with that, that brings us to the end of the presentation. I'll conclude my session and hand it back to Piyushri. Over to you, Piyushri.
Thank you, Shua and Lokesh, for your presentation. We are going to go ahead and jump right into our questions. If you haven't done already, you can now go ahead to the question panel and straight away add your questions. Starting off with our first question for today, we've got a question on does it support SOC 2 benchmarks? Lokesh, do you want to answer this?
Yes. So on the SOC 2 benchmarks, so we have SOC 2 content for AWS, GCP, and Azure in cloud environments. So with respect to on-prem, we'll try to accommodate in the upcoming or in the future quarters.
Okay, thank you, Lokesh. Another question from the same user: does it also support IBM Z operating system?
All right. With respect to IBM Z operating systems on the IBM mainframe set of things, Currently, we have not provided any support on those side. So we need to do like a feasibility check, and then we'll try to again, like we'll try to accommodate in the upcoming quarters on the IBM Z operating system.
Okay, thank you, Lokesh. We've got also another question about the ChefConf event. We will share the link of the event shortly via email, as well as I will type it on the chat. So that's all we had for today. I think thank you. I would thank all of you for joining today's session. If you have any more questions, feel free to get in touch with us through our website or contact us. And thank you for joining today's session. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.